sure that's right. I hope that's right.
I hope we get some 50-degree days in August.
It's sort of hard to imagine what we are ever going to have weather-wise.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, the
I
water.
think that's too crooked.
Yeah.
All right, so let yourself sit comfortably.
No, Catherine, this is Sherry. Catherine. Hi, nice to meet you.
Yes, Sherry and I know each other, but not with.
Oh, man.
Okay. That was interesting.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
So sit comfortably. You know you're welcome to sit up on blankets. If you're really easier in your hips to give yourself support, sitting up higher, or also using your blocks. Like if you like to try sitting cross-legged but it's a little uncomfortable, you can use blocks underneath your legs like that to support. You can stretch your legs out if you want. But if you're sitting in your chair, just get your feet hips distance apart and parallel. And close your eyes. Start to let yourself enjoy now, lengthening up through the top of your head. And see if you can move your hands around a little bit. Like they may want to come up and down your thighs a little, towards your knees, maybe up towards your hips a little more, until it feels like just right. You come to this spot where your hands want to rest. Whether your palms are up or down, it doesn't matter. Just let yourself feel nice and released and open across your chest. And feel your breath coming in and going out through your nose very easily. So accepting your breaths. Instead of feeling like you're taking a breath, just let yourself receive your breaths. See if you can start to feel the breath coming into your belly, feeling your belly rise and expand as you breathe in. And if you're comfortable to come into those 3-part breaths, inhaling into your belly, then into your ribs, then all the way up higher into your chest. And when you exhale, letting the breath come out of the chest first, then the ribs, then the belly. Start to make little easy circles with your torso. So keeping your back pretty nice and long here. Letting yourself just start to circle around in one direction. It doesn't matter which way, because we'll reverse in a second. But letting your exhales bring you forward. And your inhales bring you back a little bit. And then let yourself just continue. Now you can get bigger and bigger with the circles if that feels good, or you can stay really small. Just letting yourself start to move with your breath. And we are going to stop and go the other direction. So you stop where it feels good and then start to reverse. So just enjoy feeling the breath move you in these easy circles, that shift of weight forward to the side and back and to the side. Finish off the one you're on, and then we'll come back up to sitting nice and tall and let our arms release on out beside us. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead, and let our exhale bring our hands right down together in front of our hearts. And now clasp your hands together and start to send your palms out away from your chest, pressing into the heels of your hands, feeling your fingers, your wrists. Let it feel really released in your shoulders there, and try not to round forward here into the shoulders, but kind of draw your upper arm bones back into your shoulder sockets a little bit. And then bring the hands back in towards the chest and turn the palms to face your chest, but you're still interlaced with your fingers, but interlinked. And imagine you're trying to pull your fingers apart, but you're squeezing them together. They're not going to come apart. Your elbows are reaching away from each other here now. One more breath. And then release and let the arms come on out beside you. Let's lower our right arm on down and let our left arm come on up. And come over into a little side stretch here. Breathing into that side you're stretching. Feeling the breath expand the ribs on that left side. You don't have to go really far to be able to let the breath help you find more, right? And then we'll rise up and we're going to switch. We're going to let the right arm come up, the left arm come down, and we're going to come over into side stretch on the other side. Breathing into the right ribs. One more breath. And then we'll come on back up and lower our arms on down. And now bring your hands behind you. Clasp your hands back there. And then just start to come a little bit forward. Like imagine almost that your chest is leading you forward. So you don't want to come forward like this, rounding your back and curling your tailbone forward. But instead send your tailbone back a little bit. Let yourself just ease a little bit forward. Now you want to go lower if it feels fine to you. If it's enough just to move an inch forward, imagine you're really coming forward with that nice long back. Good. So one more breath there. Try to let your back of your neck release. So if the tendency is to lift your chin up, let yourself release back of the head in line with your spine. And then we'll rise on back up. And if you are cross-legged, we're going to switch the cross of our legs on the floor. If not, take your time. Let yourself stretch out for a second if you need, and then come on back to sitting the way you're comfortable, releasing your hands on down beside you. Let's inhale here, and on the exhale, let's twist to our right, bringing your left hand around, maybe to your right knee, maybe to your midline of your body here. Doesn't matter how far you go, but enjoy. Feel the spine really coming into that twist in the middle of the back. Feel your left sitting bone drawing down. Good. Now stay in the twist here, but take a nice inhale. And when you exhale, turn your head to the left so that you're looking back over your left shoulder. And bring your chin down just a tiny little bit till you find a nice release for your neck. And if you're like, well, that does not feel nice, then maybe don't lower the chin, right? Just be mindful. Let yourself find a stretch there. One more breath. And now when you exhale, use your belly to bring everything back around into center, stopping here at center. And take a nice inhale here. And on the exhale, we're going to twist the other way. So bringing yourself around to the left, let your right hand again, maybe come to your left knee, maybe to the midline. Feel the sitting bones drawing down. Think about low belly drawing gently in. One more inhale here. And now when you exhale again, keep your twist, but you let your head just turn to look to the right. And again, it is totally up to you whether you want to bring the chin down a little bit or not. Changes it, right? So kind of find what feels good for you. Think about releasing through the neck here, the upper back. One more breath. And now we're going to slowly use our belly to bring us on back around into center. Arms out beside us here. We're going to inhale both arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. And let's reverse and inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down. And then just bring your arms behind you. Now, if you're in your chair, you can just drape your arms over the back of the chair. If you want to just let your fingertips stay on the floor back there behind you, you can draw the chest forward, let yourself open a little bit here. Be really mindful. If it bothers your neck to look up, don't do it. Maybe just a little bit looking up feels good. Maybe you want to look all the way up to the ceiling right above your head, right? That's just, some people's necks love that and some don't. One more breath. And then let yourself come on forward. Bow your head just a little bit, chin towards your chest. Turn a little bit side to side if you can so that you find a little more release. And then come back into center. We're going to rise the head on back up. Take a breath here, seated mountain. Lengthen up through the crown of your head. And from here, we're going to make our way around towards being on our hands and knees, or not, right? So if you don't want to be on your knees, you can be up with your hands on a chair seat, right? You can, if you want to get out of your wrists, you can use a chair seat or blocks to come down onto your forearms so you're not in your hands and your wrists to do your cat-cows. Or, you know, you can be on fists on the floor or have your hands spread wide, right? So you got to find what's good for your wrists, for your hands. Take your time for a second, just wag your tail a little bit side to side. So your hips just shift a little bit side to side. And let your head respond however it wants. So as your hips shift a little bit, let your head do what it wants. And then slowly bring everything back into center, looking down between your hands. Inhale. And on your exhale, draw your navel towards your spine. Draw up into that cat pose. And on your inhale, send your tailbone back and up. And move back through into your cow. Or more neutral spine if that's better for you. So starting to just enjoy. Feeling that gentle flowing through the spine, really. Letting the tailbone initiate so that you feel that sense of the tailbone is the first thing that moves, and then you just travel up the spine from there, whether you're moving into cat or cow. But feel free, remember, to stay in cat or cow without moving for a breath or two if that feels better to you. Good. And we'll finish off the one we're on. And we're going to come to a more neutral spine here now. And we'll send our right foot behind us on the floor. So if you're in your chair, it's like a little short lunge. You're just going to let the right heel come back directly behind your foot. And if you're on the floor, you're just keeping the toes on the floor curled under and pressing into your heel, waking up the back of your right leg. And then we're going to switch and go to the other side. So again, pressing gently into the heel back there. Really feel your belly engaging a little bit. Zip up your low belly. Good. And then come on back. We're going to step our left foot forward and come on into a lunge here. So, you know, you can have your hands any height in a lunge. You've got the blocks, 3 heights. Lowest, middle, highest, right? You've got your chair seat. If you'd like to use a chair, you can have your hands down as low or as high as you want. And then just take your time. Feel your shoulders draw down away from your ears. Feel the feet gently pressing away from each other. And find that length in the back of the body. Think about your head now. So instead of lifting your chin up and looking forward, think about keeping the back of your head in line with your spine. And we're going to switch legs. So however you need to come to the other side. And find that alignment of that front knee. Make sure it's not any further forward than your ankle. So you're not overbending your knee, putting too much stress on your knee there. But you can again feel that sense of really coming up into the hips. Finding the length in the back. Good. And we are going to switch legs again. So again, remember, it's kind of like you're on very narrow railroad tracks. You don't want to be like on a tightrope. So your feet are a little bit apart the wide way. And if you want to lift up your left hand or forearm up to your thigh, if you want a little bit more, you can, but you don't need to. You can keep your hands down. And we're going to switch again. So again, how you switch doesn't matter. Getting yourself into your lunge there. Again, if lifting up and letting yourself find just a little bit more in the legs and up into your hips by taking a little weight out of your hands, you can. And then we'll step forward. We're going to come on into standing forward bend with our feet hips distance apart and parallel. And use whatever support you need. So you know, you've always got your knees there. If you can rest your elbows above your knees, that'll support your low back. So if you don't have something that feels good, you can use your own body there. You can use a chair, of course, or you can use your blocks. Or you can let your arms hang down and let yourself release as long as that doesn't bother your back. So be mindful, let the knees be a little bit soft, but feel your sitting bones over your heels. You're trying not to let your hips shift back behind you, right? You want to feel like those sitting bones are right over your heels. And then just breathe. Let yourself accept some full deep breaths easily. So not forcing, just letting the breath be deep, feeling the ribs expand as you inhale. And letting go through your face and your jaw. And then we'll let our hands come on up to our hips. We're going to bend our knees and rise up. And inhale the arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. So coming into your mountain pose, adjust as you need. So if you need to kind of get your feet set a little bit different distance apart, make sure you're parallel. And then see if you can bring yourself on up and bring your hands behind you. Bring your gaze forward and clasp your hands together there. And let your arms be, pretty long. You're not locking your elbows, but you're not really deeply bent either. Now, you got your hands right positioned there where you can kind of tell what your pelvis is doing, right? So if you happen to be tucking your tailbone forward, which rounds your upper back like that, you can really tell when your hands are back there. So think about drawing your tailbone like it's reaching down towards between your heels, like the back of your heels. And then your pelvis is aligned. You've got a little bit of curve in your low back there. Feel the feet equal in the floor. And then let your hands come undone. Float your arms a breath away from you and turn your palms forward. Let yourself reach down through your fingertips here now. And we'll inhale the arms up into a wide V, mountain with the arms overhead. And let the shoulders soften down. Turn your pinkies towards each other a little bit more. That'll help create space. One more inhale here. And if you like to look up, you can. And as we exhale, we'll bend our knees and fold forward from the hips, coming into standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find a nice flat back. Hands can be on your legs somewhere, can be on the blocks, they can be on the chair. And we're going to step the right foot back here and come into lunge. So draw your shoulders down again. Really find the whole body here in your lunge. Appreciate the length. Good. And we're going to make our way into a downward facing dog pose. Now, if your hands are on blocks or the chair, you might have your heels fully on the floor. Knees can be bent. Think about really reaching back through your tailbone and finding length in your spine here. And on the next inhale, we'll come out towards a plank. You don't have to do a full plank. You can come down with your knees and do a half. You can go to your forearms and do a forearm plank, so you're out of your hands, period, right? You can do little push-ups if you want, letting your elbows bend and letting yourself move a little bit into the arms and the shoulders. Don't have to. And then we'll come on back into down dog. So again, how high your hands are, whether they're on the floor, the blocks any height, or the chair, take your time. You're trying to lengthen your spine, and you want to be okay in your shoulders. So that's different for every person. And from here, we will bring our right foot forward to find lunge. Now, if you need to put your left knee down to get there, you just come back into your lunge however you need. And then we'll step forward into standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart and parallel. And again, you just be mindful of your own back. Support if you need. Some of you might even feel like you want to release and hold your elbows with your hands and let yourself really fold forward because it feels good. But I would suggest if your back bothers you, that's probably not a really good idea. So Don't force anything. Remember, knees can be bent in your forward bend. They can be straighter. You certainly don't want to lock and jam back into your knees though. So one more breath. And then we'll bring our hands to our hips. We're going to rise on up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's reverse the hands, inhaling up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms like wings as we come on forward. And let your next inhale help you find that flat back. Again, wherever you want your hands to give you support. And this time, left foot is going to step back and come into lunge. And inhale, exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So again, if your hands are on the floor in dog, you're more like an upside down V, right? And your heels might be hovering off the mat. But if your hands are on blocks of the chair, it's a little different story. Be where you can. Let your next inhale bring you on out to your plank. Again, you can add a little push-up if you choose. You can stay in your plank. You can go to your forearms. You can put your knees down if you want and come into a half plank, right? So be mindful. And then we'll make our way back again into downward facing dog pose. And from here, we'll bring our left foot forward. So again, if you need to put your right knee down to get there, do. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend again. Feel your head. If it's okay to let your head hang so that you can really release now, feeling the weight of the head help you create space in your spine, do. Now if that bothers your back, just keep the back of your head more in line with your spine. And if it helps to move your head around a little bit, you can nod your head, yes. You can shake your head, no. Just be easy. And feel those full deep breaths now. Inhaling, feeling the ribs expanding. When you exhale, maybe just imagine the top of the head gets a little closer to the floor. And then we will bring our hands back up to our hips. We're going to bend our knees and rise on up and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, we're going to come into a little chair pose. Sit back, let yourself come forward with your torso, back with your hips a little bit. Now you can look down. You do want to make sure your knees are not coming inward, not me there, right, or outward. You want them to be over the center of your feet. And then how low you go is up to you. If you can bring your gaze maybe 5-6 feet in front of you on the floor, right? So there's a bit of an uplift instead of you being down like this, right? And then if you want to bend your knees deeper, you can. Sometimes it helps to shift your weight a little more to your heels if you're going to bend your knees deeper. Finding your chair pose there. Strong legs and hips. One more breath. And then press equally into your feet. Rise on up. Inhale the hands right on up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms like wings and fold forward into your standing forward bend. On your next inhale, find that nice long back. Really lengthen out. And we're going to walk into down dog from here. So, wherever you like your hands to be, make your way back into your dog. Walk a little bit in your dog by bending a knee at a time so that you let yourself find the length of one back of one leg and then the other a little bit. And then come on back to your full dog, and on the next inhale, we'll come on out towards that plank. Again, you can stay in plank. You can add a back bend if you want. You can come to the floor, go onto your forearms and do a sphinx. You can do a little cobra or an up dog. And then we'll make our way back into down dog. Remember, back bends are totally optional. So take your time. Next inhale, we'll again come out towards that plank. It is optional whether you're going to add any kind of back bend, stay in your plank, working your core a little bit there. And then we'll make our way back again into downward facing dog pose. Nice. We're going to bring our right foot forward to come into lunge. And then we'll come all the way back into standing forward bend. Now, if you can, when you're back into your Uttanasana, it's called, lift your toes up and see if you can just feel really equal between your feet here now. So you don't want to roll to the pinky toe side of your feet or the big toe side of your feet. You want to be really centered, right? So if you spread your toes out, that kind of helps. And then let your toes release on back down to the floor. And then just go into being really focused on your breath. So whatever you need to do that, whatever support you need so that you can focus completely on your breath. Following your breath all the way in and all the way out. One more nice, full, deep breath. And then we'll let our hands come up to our hips. We're going to bend our knees, press into our feet, and rise on up. And inhale our arms out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. So coming into mountain pose here now, if you need to adjust, do, but just enjoy. Let your body kind of settle its way into your mountain pose, right? So that if you need a little bit of shifting around or swaying or, just letting your weight shift a little bit front to back or side to side, just enjoy. Because the body really wants to be aligned. Once you get that alignment of the pelvis, where your tailbone is reaching down towards between your heels, so you're letting yourself really find the body stacking up, hips over ankles, shoulders over hips. And thinking about your ears being over your shoulders, really, the middle of your shoulders. And then it's just easy, especially after sun salutations, to feel the body aligning and to feel the energy really flowing through the body so much more than just, 20 minutes ago, right? And then we'll release our arms on down beside us and move around a little bit if you need to. We are going to come into some warrior poses. So if you're using your chair, you might want to turn it around. And you do want to have your blocks handy here at the front of your mat. And we're going to come to the front of the mat and step our right foot back and come into warrior one. So warrior one, front facing warrior, get you square to the front of your mat. So let yourself check out your left knee, right? So your left knee is bent, no farther forward than your ankle. Your right foot is fully on the floor, turned out maybe 20 or 30 degrees. But look down, look towards the front corners of your mat and bring your hands to reach, kind of just forward of the front corners of your mat as you can. Palms are facing each other, so it feels really easy. And then we're going to keep inhaling the arms up and up and up and up into a wide V. Now you can widen them as much as you need. You can keep them forward as much as you need, depending on your shoulders. Feel that uplift now in the front of the body. Imagine you're just almost like sending sparks out your fingertips because there's energy all the way out through the tips of the fingers. And then bend your elbows and let your hands clasp behind the back of your head there. And just press your head just a little bit into your hands, just to feel like you're supporting your head with your hands. So it's very easy. Our heads are quite heavy, but this takes a nice weight off, right? So one more breath. And then release to bring your hands over your head and then right down together in front of your chest, in front of your heart. And let's unfold our arms now and bring our hands behind us. Clasp your hands, right? And we're going to just bow forward a little bit over this front leg. Now, you might just want to stay up high and let your head bow, right? Or some of you, especially if a chair's not there, might want to fold more over that inner thigh. And if you come all the way over your thigh and you want to bring your arms off your back because it really releases your shoulders, you can. Not necessary. And then let yourself release your hands down to blocks or whatever surface you want. We're going to find a lunge, letting that right heel now release directly behind our foot. So coming back to that lunge, And then making our way into a twist. Left hand to the left hip and rolling that left shoulder up. Now you can stay right there with your hand down and find that twist in the middle of your back, trying to stay level in your hips. Or you can stretch the arm up if you choose to. That hurts your shoulder. You might be better off just to keep your hand down. One more breath. And then bring that left hand on back down. We're going to straighten the left knee out. Let the right heel descend directly back behind your foot. It's probably off the floor. Well, it might not be. It doesn't matter if it's on or off the floor. But you want it parallel, right, to the outside edge of the mat. And that way, it's not a pyramid, but it really gets into the calf pretty deeply, the backs of the legs. And then from there, we're going to bend the left knee, and we're going to step forward and get our feet right underneath us, hips distance apart and parallel. And we'll bend our knees and rise on up to standing, and inhale the arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. And let's sit back in that little chair pose again. Now, it doesn't have to be deep. You know, you can, again, if you look straight down, you see what that does to your alignment, right? So bring your gaze maybe 5 or 6 feet in front of you on the floor. Doesn't matter how deeply you bend your knees. You can be up high like this, right? You don't have to bend deeply to be engaging your quads. You're really feeling your thighs and your hips. So one more breath there. And then press into the feet. Rise on back up into your mountain pose here. And then release your arms on down. And from here, separate your feet a little bit. And let your arms start to swing a little side to side. Now, I'm really trying to let my arms swing. I'm actually twisting. And so when your arms come to the left and wrap around you, you're twisting to the left a little bit. Now you can let the opposite foot come off the floor a little and let it kind of follow you around. So the heel is not staying put and you can like really release there. But really let the arms swing so there's just no tension. And once they start that momentum, they can just keep going forever. Just releasing there. And then come on back in the center. Shake it out a little bit. And we're going to come to the other side. So again, you want to have your blocks handy. If you have your chair there, you can put your hands on it. Coming towards the front of your mat and stepping your left foot back for that warrior one. Now remember, how far back you step is up to you. Your feet can be 1.5 feet apart, 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet. You know, you want to get to where you feel really easy to keep that foot grounded back there. And then letting your hands come forward. And again, so you're finding that sense, it's easy. You can reach, palms face each other. You feel that front-facing warrior. You feel the strength in the core of the body. And as the arms start to rise up, again, you stop where you need. And you separate how you need. You can bring your gaze up if that feels good. Let the sense of energy in the hands be there all the way out through the tips of your fingers. And then feel that openness in the front of your left hip because that back foot is fully grounded, right? One more breath here. And then lower the arms on down. Bring your gaze forward. Let your hands come together in front of your chest, in front of your heart there. And now, inhale the hands up, but just enough to go over the top of the head and clasp your hands right at the back of your head. Now as you press into your head, maybe your hands will let your head come back a little bit, but you're supporting it. Yeah? And so you want to feel really good there. Again, just opening up here through the front of the body. One more breath. Good. And then bring your hands back over the top of the head and back down in front of your chest, in front of your heart. And we're going to unfold them. And we're going to bring the hands behind us. And again, you may just want to lean a little bit forward and let your head hang if you can. Now that engages your belly. You don't really realize till you do it, but if you don't engage your belly, you're going to fall over, right? Now if you want to go lower, you can go lower. You can fold forward over that leg. You can let your head hang once you get there if you can, or if you can release your arms off your back and come into your shoulders, you can do that. So one more breath. And then we'll let our hands come down to blocks or the floor of the chair. And release that left heel now into that full lunge where that heel's reaching directly behind your foot. And we're going to add that twist. Right hand on up to the right hip, rolling that right shoulder up. Again, your hand can stay right there. If your palm is down onto your sacrum right there, you can really let yourself make sure you're not dropping into that left long side. And of course, if you like stretching the arm up, you can stretch it straight up from your shoulder, but you don't need to. Lengthen out through the crown of your head and reach back through that inner left heel. It's a wonderful pose. One more breath. And then bringing your right hand on back down, let's step forward and get our feet right underneath us. Come into your standing forward bend. If you want to hold your elbows, go for it. If it's too much, use your support. One more nice full breath. And then we'll bring our hands up to our hips. We're going to bend our knees and rise on up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down, finding our mountain pose there. So if you need to sway around a little bit, do it. Shift around a little, let your body adjust. And you all know that I love to keep my eyes closed in mountain pose. It's not always taught that way. You know, a lot of people, if you get dizzy, it's much better to keep your eyes open. And imagine you're looking way out beyond the wall, out to the horizon. We're going to unfold our arms on down beside us, shake out a little bit. And we're going to come to Warrior 2 this time. So again, you want your blocks handy, and we're going to step our right foot back, left foot forward, right foot back. And this time, your heels are about in a line, about. Left knee is bent again, no farther forward than your ankle, so you're not overdoing the knee bend and put pressure in the knee. And then from here, let's bring our arms up into a wide V. So just like we did in Warrior 1, but now you're facing the side instead of the front, right? And then turn your palms away from each other and lower your arms down into your Warrior 2 arms, looking out over the top of that left hand. Feeling the feet equal in the floor. You can press the feet away from each other and really feel your hips engaging and your belly and your low back. One more breath. And then bring your right hand down to your right hip. We're going to straighten the left knee out, and we're going to bring our left hand down for triangle pose. So left hand can go wherever you want, on a chair, on your leg, if you want to use a block, or if you want to stack blocks up, you know. You got 2 blocks there. You can always stack them up and have your hand up higher, or you can use your own leg, right? And then if you choose to add your right arm up, it can go straight up from your shoulder. If not, keep your right hand on your hip and just draw your right shoulder up towards the ceiling if you can. So extending the torso right out over that left leg. Thighs lifting upward. One more breath. And then bend that left knee. We're going to come back to Warrior 2. So let yourself rise on back into that Warrior 2 pose. And then we'll bring our arms on down. We're going to turn our feet more parallel for a wide-legged forward bend. So I know a lot of us like to grab blocks. So bringing yourself on forward. And you know, you want your feet at least a little wider than your shoulders. How much wider is totally up to you. You know, some people say, oh, you need to have your feet at least 3 feet apart. Well, that's not really true. You have to go by your own hips and how you're built. You can bend a knee at a time and take your time there if you'd like. And then make your way on back into center. And if you're able to bend your knees and put your elbows above your knees, do. So you're really supporting your back lengthened. It's a squat. Let yourself imagine you're reaching back through your tailbone, out through the top of your head. And then lower your hands on down, either to blocks or the floor, and walk over a little to the right, or shift your blocks a little to the right. That's up to you. And then we'll come on back through center, and we're going to go the other side. So again, you might just want to shift a little bit. You might want to walk your hands closer towards your foot. You might just want to bring your blocks over. And and make your way back into center again. And take your time here, set up however you need to be able to release in your upper body. So if you need to have blocks under your hands, if you need to have blocks under your forearms, or maybe your head supported, right? Sometimes it feels good to put your head on blocks that are stacked up. So just be mindful and feel the breath coming into the ribs. Feel that beautiful expansion of the ribs as you inhale. Good. One more nice, full deep breath. And then take your time. When you start to think about rising up, be mindful. If you need to bring your feet together first a little bit before you come up, do. And then just go ahead and bring your feet together. Walk around a little bit. Move through your feet and your ankles too. So if you want to press like into the tops of your toes a little bit, that always feels good. Or lift your feet up, you know, and circle your ankles a little bit. We're going to do the other side though. So we'll step left foot back. And again, line the heels up. And let yourself line up that front knee so that it's not coming inward, right? It's coming out over the center of the foot. You can see when you look out over it. And then again, rise your arms up so you're facing side and you've got your arms into this wide V. You're more to the side than to the front, really. And then turn your palms away from each other and start to lower your arms down, bringing your gaze to look right out over the top of that right hand. And again, just enjoy that strength of Warrior Two. Feet pressing gently away from each other. Feeling your hips, your low back, your belly engaging. And then let's put our left hand right onto our left hip, straighten our right leg out, and bring our right hand down for triangle. So again, your hand can be up as high as you want. Thighs are engaging up towards the hips. You can add the arm at the top or not. Remember, you're more than welcome to let yourself keep your hand down. You can use support of a block or a chair underneath your hand. Good. Feel those thighs lifting up towards the hips. One more breath. And then we'll bend that right knee. We're going to come on back into Warrior Two, pressing those feet away from each other, getting right back into the core. And then we'll let our hands come down. We're going to turn our feet more parallel. And again, we're going to make our way forward. So you grab the blocks if you need them. Once you get your hands down, go ahead and bend a knee at a time if you can. Just let yourself release a little more side to side. If it bothers your knees, don't do it. And then come back into center. And you might want a block under your hands or blocks for this. Lengthen out so you have a nice flat back, right? So you have yourself into this tabletop back here. And then we're going to bring our weight onto our left hand and bring our right hand to our right hip and roll up into a twist here, trying to stay as level as we can right back here on our sacrum. So let yourself enjoy lengthening out through the top of your head. Feel your feet pressing away from each other. And then lower that right hand back down, and we're going to switch. Left hand's going to come up. Press the feet away from each other as you go into this twist, right? So you're really engaged. Imagine your inner thighs melting their way behind you. Good. Levelness in the hips back there, the twist in the middle of the back. Beautiful. And then bring your hands on back down and take your time. You know, the traditional pose here is bringing your hands between your feet and letting yourself hang like this. Well, that is so not for everybody. So adjust how you need to. Let yourself, if you'd rather keep out long, keep your hands in front of you do. Use blocks. Hold your ankles if you'd rather. But just start to, again, observe the breath. Let that be the important thing, really. Just following your breath all the way in and all the way out. And let your exhales feel like they're a time that you're just releasing deeper and deeper. Relaxing your face and your jaw. Good, one more breath. And from there, we're gonna walk our hands out so that we can bring them back up to our thighs or hips to help us up. And if you need to bring your feet together before you do that, do. And then we can walk a little bit, walk around on your mat. We are gonna go to a wall, but leave your mats where they are and just go to where you can feel like you have space. You can put a hand on a wall somewhere, right? Yeah. There you go. Or you can be like, yeah, that's good. Or here, Trudy, you can be right here if you want. Well, no, it's okay.
You know, block station with kids.
So, left hand on the wall. At first, think about it. You're gonna balance a little bit. You're gonna have your left hand on the wall, other left. There you go. And then you're gonna bring your right knee up like you're stepping up a high step. Now, you might want to put your right hand like on your knee or under your thigh, right? But think about if you were to balance here and let go of the wall. You can even try releasing the wall. See if you can balance. It's actually a really hard balance. It's harder than tree or... And then from there, put your hand back on the wall if it was away and open the knee out to the right. So you're coming into outward hip rotation. Now, same thing here. You might want to let go of the wall. Let yourself balance. You can have the arm up overhead if you want. You can have the arm down, just barely let go of the wall. Whatever feels good. Had probably enough of that. Put your hand back on the wall and now cross your right ankle above your left knee if you can. Like a figure four, like a man cross-legged. If that doesn't feel good, don't do it. You can cross ankles or you can cross your thigh over more woman cross-legged too, right? And then from there, see about coming like you're going into chair pose. So you're shifting your hips back, your body a little forward. You're bending your left knee. And there you have it, man. That's a really deep hip opening pose here. You can hold your hands to your heart if you want and balance. Or you can like hold on for dear life to the wall, right? Be where you can. Let yourself release as best you can there. Some of you might even want to go lower. If you want to fold over that leg, you can put your hands down to blocks for the floor, which you don't have any blocks, but if you want to go really low, man, that is some kind of hip opening stretch. It feels awesome. And then we're going to come up. We're going to uncross because we probably have had enough of that side. We're going to go the other. Yeah, you'll feel that hip. So we're going to stand on our right foot. And now it's going to be the left foot that comes up. Flex through that foot. Take your time. You can hold on to your knee or behind your thigh if you want. You can think about balancing, whether you rise your arm up or you keep your hand to the wall or just barely release the wall. If you flex the foot too, it helps. And then hand to the wall if you need it. We're going to open the knee to the side. Again, you can decide if you want to let go, if you want to keep holding the wall, do. Finding a spot to look at helps. Feeling that length up through the top of your head. Good. And now go ahead and cross. Bring that ankle across so that you cross above your knee. And again, you can do man cross-legged or thigh over thigh. And then shift back with your hips a little bit. Bend your knees. Now, you know that everybody's knees are different. So if it's like too much to bend your knee very deeply, don't do it. You can find a lot of strength in that supporting leg without bending really deeply. You can think about coming into a little balance here. If you want to continue to go lower and lower, you can bring your hands down and give yourself some support there. Good. One more breath. And then make your way on back up. We're going to turn to face the wall. And we're going to step back into a down dog with our hands at the wall. So it's like you're coming into a capital letter L shape. Printed, long back, long legs, but legs can be bent, but you want your feet right under your hips so that you have that 90-degree angle at your hips. If this bothers your shoulders or your wrists, you can come to fists, or you may decide you'd rather have your forearms to the wall. But find that length of the spine. Beautiful. So if you need to bend your knees, do, but let yourself really feel that flat back. Beautiful, really nice. Enjoy. And then start to come on up, walk back towards the wall, and find yourself a little plank or a forearm plank if you'd rather. So if you're in a full plank, you can do fists. right? We're all gonna do a few little push-ups if you want to. You don't have to, you can be on forearms. Or you can come into letting your elbows bend and coming back into the wall and back out from the wall a few times so that it's very controlled. Elbows are hugging in like you have a beach ball between your elbows, and you want to keep it there, right? So you're not doing the traditional style push-ups if you're doing these. So take your time and let it feel like equal going into the wall, equal time coming out from the wall. So that you're not, it's sometimes really easy to just forget about both ways, right? Both the coming towards the wall and coming back. Good. Finish off the one you're on. And then step back from the wall. You can turn around and then bring your arms overhead and see if you can either hold your wrists, your forearms, or your elbows if possible to let the triceps stretch out, right? And if that hurts your shoulders, don't do it. Kind of adjust. If you want to do just one and then do the other, do. But those of you who are wrapped, you've got your arms a certain way. You're going to think about undoing and bringing the other arm kind of on top where it feels really weird. It's like, oh my gosh, are those my arms up there? Let it just release the triceps a little bit there. Good. And then bring your arms on down and shake them out a little bit. Good. We're going to come back down onto our mats on the floor now. So take your time and come to your belly when you come down. Let yourself release down onto your belly. And go ahead and make a little pillow with your hands. Rest your forehead. Bend your knees. Circle your ankles around a little bit. Let the lower legs come side to side if you want. Good. And then come back with the legs long again and try this. If this hurts your shoulder, don't do it, okay? But see if you can bring your right hand in like you're going to do a push-up, just right by your chest. But your left arm is going to stretch out on the floor right beside you, straight out from your shoulder, right? Now, if already you're going, this is not so great, don't do it, all right? But if you want a little bit more to open the left side of your chest a little bit, you can press into your right hand like you're doing a push-up, but shift over to your left side a little bit. And let yourself kind of come onto your side just a little bit. Don't force it. If the arm feels like in the wrong place, you can let the left arm go down more, or, you can adjust it to where it feels okay in your shoulder. And if there's no way to get okay in your shoulder, don't do it. So one more breath there. And then just roll back down into center. And now we're going to stretch the right arm out. We're going to bring the left hand in like we're doing a push-up. And again, you're going to push into that hand and roll just a little bit. It doesn't have to be much. And feel that release there if you can. Trying to let yourself open across the chest a little more. That's especially that right side, the pecs, right? And then come on back down into center. Release your arms down alongside you. Turn the palms down towards the ground. And on the next inhale, float up into a little locust pose. See if you can just let yourself float up, using the back body here, feeling the fingertips reach downward so that you feel your shoulders away from your ears. And then make sure that you're not, lifting your chin up and tensing the back of your neck. So kind of looking maybe towards the front of your mat a little bit, but really not overdoing it. One more breath. Come on down and stretch your left arm overhead because we're going to roll onto our left side. And from here, we're going to let ourselves flex both the feet like we're standing in mountain pose. So make sure your feet are underneath your hips. And if your shoulder doesn't like you to lay on your arm like this, then put a block under your head, bring the arm to a place where you're okay to be. Good. Now from here, bend your right knee, put your right foot on the floor in front of your left leg somewhere. Maybe below your knee, maybe above your knee if you can. but you let your right toes kind of face down towards the foot of your mat. So you're turning your hip out, right? You're finding outward hip rotation. And that might be entirely enough right there. You might want to just stay there, let the hip release. If you want to come into this sideline yoga pose, you can. Bring your right knee in towards your shoulder and use your right hand to pull it in towards your shoulder. And if you want, you can extend that leg up long. So whether you hold on to the inside or the outside of the leg, or try to reach for your foot, or whatever works, right? Or keep the knee bent if it's too much. Remember that heel rotates forward. You're really working into releasing the hip here. It's very engaging. One more breath. And then go ahead and bend the knee. Bring the leg back down long now, right underneath you again. And we're going to roll onto our bellies and come onto our forearms and let ourselves lift right up into a little half forearm plank, or if you choose, a full forearm plank. Now you can have your hands together clasped with your pinky out for this, or you can have your hands palms down on the floor with your forearms parallel, right? Sometimes it's fun to change how your arms are in a forearm plank. So if you usually really like to clasp your hands and send your pinky finger out, sometimes it just makes it feel a little different to come on to hands down and arms parallel. We're going to release down and we're going to come down onto the other side. So letting your right arm stretch. Again, if it bothers you to straighten that arm out overhead like that, don't do it. Get really aligned there so you have your feet right underneath you. Take your time. Good. You can even try to balance if you want. Put your left hand on your left hip. If you press into the outside edge of that right foot, it'll help. And then go ahead and bend your left knee. Put your left foot on the floor. So as it comes in front of your right leg there, it can be down below your knee. It can be up above your knee, but you want to think of the toes kind of trying to reach down towards the foot of your mat. And then just enjoy letting the hips release, the buttocks release, the back. And then again, this is optional, this bringing the left knee in with your left hand, drawing the left knee towards your shoulder. And then of course, whether you want to extend that leg up, totally optional. If you do, again, you can hold kind of behind or in front of the leg. You can reach up and get your foot, or if you want, rotating that heel forward. Feel how it engages your belly, your low back, your hips. Big core pose. Pressing into the outside edge of that right pinky toe helps. One more breath. We're going to bring the leg on back down. Bend the knee and then come back to long leg. We're going to roll back to our belly one more time. And let's come on back again, either to that half forearm plank. Some of you, though, might want to walk your knees up and come into a dolphin pose. So if you'd rather do a forearm or a half forearm plank, do. But if you feel like, oh, my shoulders really want to do a dolphin pose, remember, dolphin is kind of like doing down dog, only you're on your forearms, right? It's not for everybody's shoulders. It's certainly a way to try to find this sense of releasing between your shoulder blades on your back. Good. And then we're going to release down and we're going to make our way towards child's pose. So, you know, as your big toes come together and your knees separate as much as you choose, you have to decide what your knees and hips let you do in child's pose. You can stay somewhat forward so that you're supported by your forearms and you can still relax there. Let your hips and your low back release, or you can send your hips back towards your heels. And arms can stay soft overhead, or you can bring the arms back alongside your legs if you'd rather. So you want to find some comfort for your own shoulders there. And just enjoy breathing into your low back. Feeling the low back literally expand as you inhale. One more nice full deep breath. And now, let yourself come on up. If possible, if you think it's possible for you to sit, don't do this if it bothers your knees or your hips, but to grab a block or 2 blocks stacked up to the lowest height and to be able to sit on them, or you have yourself bent like this with your knees. This is not for everybody, all right? So if it's too much, so what I do is I have my feet like right here to the outside edges of the block, turn the wide way, right? And you can do the 2 blocks so that you don't have as deep of a bend in your knees, but you're still going to get a quad stretch. It's a hero pose prep. Now, a lot of people, especially if you're down lower, it bothers the top of their feet or their ankles, right? So, if it bothers you, don't do it. If you can't get up high enough, then sit cross-legged for a second. But if you are sitting like this, okay, you want to think about your knees being forward of your hips. Not, you've seen kids sit like this to the outside of their feet, right? So probably not something a good idea for us to do. So let yourself, instead of putting that kind of pressure on your knees, feel your knees forward. And it is a hero pose. You can sit up nice. This pose, for nothing else, if you can just sit here long enough to let the spine adjust. Because of the way you're sitting, whether you're on a block or 2 or sitting between your heels, some people sit all the way on the floor, right? Your spine just naturally wants to come into alignment. So as you just reach up through the crown of your head, your tailbone naturally aims backward just a little bit. Can you feel that? And then it's just like, oh, it's so easy. But your quads are getting a nice release too. Now if you can add this, let your right arm come on up overhead and come over into a little side stretch here. So you don't have to go far. You can put your hand kind of on your leg or down on the floor if you're close enough, or if you have another block there. Just breathe into that side. And then come on up and we'll go the other side. So just letting yourself release into that left side. Good. And then we'll come on back up. And then from here, if you could just open a little bit, even if you bring your hands back, maybe towards your feet, or maybe you want to put them on your low back, just open a little bit more there. If you can put your hands on the floor, if you're low enough, you can put your hands on the floor and draw your chest forward. And then we're going to release, and we're going to come out of this. So be mindful. That is like deeper than it seems when you're in it. So come on around, stretch your legs on out in front of you. And you might even want to take your hands and just take your hands around your kneecaps and kind of massage a little bit, right? And you might even want to move your kneecaps around with your hands. Kneecaps are so fascinating, aren't they? So you can let yourself, and you can massage up into your thighs a little bit. Just be easy and mindful there. Good. And we're going to make our way down onto our backs on the floor from here. So have a block handy, just in case you want it. And come on down, bring your knees on in towards your chest. And then separate your knees a little wider, send your feet up in the air, a little happy baby. You can keep your hands just there to the outside of the legs, and maybe even pull your thighs down with your hands there a little bit towards the floor. Or you can reach up and get your feet in happy baby, or your ankles or your shins or whatever. And you can rock back, side to side, if it feels good to your back and your hips. Good. And then come on back into center and bring your feet on down to the floor. We'll do either just a simple little bridge pose here or a supported bridge if you'd rather. So if you'd rather let your arms come long, then bend your elbows to 90 degrees. You can come into those arms where the palms face each other, elbows bent. Press down into your arms and lift up into your bridge. And if you don't feel quite right, come down and readjust how far your feet are from the buttocks before you rise up. Or if you prefer, just grab a block and be supported on a block. Any height, right? You can be supported and just stay and release into your bridge pose. So kind of find what you need here at the end of class. Whether you need to work a little bit harder, or maybe it would feel better just to totally relax onto the block, let your low back release. Or maybe a little of both, of course. So take your time, and if you need to lift up and down out of bridge pose, do. And if it's a day where you're like, wow, I just really don't feel so great in bridge pose today, then come down and let your knees come in, and maybe there's something else that your body is pretty insistent on doing. So by all means, really just listen to where you are. So if another movement, if another pose feels good, doesn't have to be a yoga pose. It might just be a stretch that you like to do. I'm going to start to walk around here at the studio so that I can bring stuff. So don't rush. At home, you'll need to gather your own stuff. Now, if the idea of having some support, like a bolster or a rolled up blanket if you don't have bolsters at home, or a little bit of a support at the back of your head so that your chin is not lifting up. So if you feel kind of like your chin lifts up when you lie flat on your back, just a little bit, you're welcome, of a blanket can be helpful. Okay. And then the support under the knees just tilts your pelvis to a little bit different angle, and sometimes that can feel really good. If you don't like it, just take it out. I got you. So you just give yourself time to settle in, to feel the ground underneath you and enjoy that support. Gotcha. And let yourself get your arms, your legs to a place where you feel really easy to be. And then just be with your own breath. Accepting the breaths in and out. If it helps you to find those little spaces between your breaths, those little spaces at the end of your inhales before you exhale. The same thing at the end of your exhales before you inhale. You can just imagine you're resting in those little spaces between your breaths. Just enjoy having these few minutes to give your mind and your body time to find those little quiet places where you can benefit from all you just did. And just let yourself completely and fully relax. breath gradually start to come in and go out a little more fully and deeply. And just let those deeper breaths re-energize you, bring you back now into wanting to physically move. And however you need to do that, fingers, toes, hands, feet, moving into your arms, your legs, however you need to. You know you're welcome to roll to either your right or your left side. If that's comfortable for you, you can come into a soft fetal position with your knees bent and maybe use your arm as a pillow if you don't have a blanket there. And just take your time so that when you do feel okay to rise up to sitting, you can stay pretty relaxed as you make your way up to sitting however is comfortable. You know, stretch your legs out if you want to, cross your legs if that feels better, use a blanket under you if you want to, or a bolster if you have one there. But let yourself have your eyes gently closed and feel that length up through the top of your head and feel your sitting bones drawing downward, finding all that space in your spine, coming back to your breath. And on your next exhale, let your hands gently come to meet there in front of your chest. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste.
Namaste.